Testing 1, 2, just making sure you can hear me again today. Again, thank you so much for being here with me. This is awesome. If you were with me yesterday and you were with me the day before, again, thank you so much for your time. And it's just awesome being able to hang out with you. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about the basics of major and minor arpeggios, okay? So this is day 3 of our discussion about music theory. Here at GuitarZoom, we've opened up our music theory masterclass. So what we've been doing this week is we're celebrating by having 5 live sessions talking all about music theory. So we're on day 3 right now. And basically what's happening is each live session that I'm doing is connecting to the last live session. So in the first day, we talked about memorizing your notes across your fretboard and how important it is to know your notes. The second thing we talked about was the major scale and the chords that are derived from that major scale. And now what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about major and minor arpeggios, just basic ideas to kind of get you going. I'm going to give you 3 different positions to play in that I think are very important to know and why. And then what you can do is on Thursday and Friday, you can still join me at 4 p.m. Pacific, every day at 4 p.m. Pacific. And then if you need to, you can always rewatch these later on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. But do me a big favor. Check out the link for the Music Theory Masterclass. It's going to be in the chat section. It's probably going to be above or below this video, depending on where you're watching it. If you're interested in learning about music theory, not only what it is, but more importantly, how it works and how you can use it in your guitar playing in a real-life situation. That's what I really want you to think about. Not just learning music theory, but how to use it. So, for me, everything is about real-world application. If you're going to learn it, you should learn it so you can actually use it in your playing. So if that makes sense, again, thank you, everybody, for being here. I think Derek is on with us doing some answering of questions if you have anything in the chat. So go ahead and do that. That would be great. And let's go ahead and get started. Again, I don't want to take too much of your time out, so let's go ahead and get going here. Now, yesterday we were learning about the G major scale, right? And we learned how we could do a G major and an A minor and a B minor and a C major and a D major and an E minor and then an F sharp diminished as well. We could learn those chords that come with that major scale. Now that's a really powerful concept, and we touched on it yesterday, although it gets far deeper than that, but at least we touched on that to get you going. So if you didn't see that, I still think that's one of the most important things I could possibly talk about with people is understanding how scales and chords are connected and that sort of thing. But today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about arpeggios. So let's first understand what an arpeggio is. Well, an arpeggio really means broken chord. Like if I was to take a G chord and I go like this and I play it like that, that's an arpeggio. It's a broken chord. If you think of like that sort of playing, you're arpeggiating chords. But for us as guitar players, we're thinking about taking a chord and breaking it apart. So let's do this real quick. So if I was to take the G chord here, for instance, and play these notes, G, B, and D, which is the root, the major third, and the fifth. Those 3 notes are what make up a triad. Now, the chords, when we first start learning chords, like D, or A, or C, or G, or E minor, or A minor, or B minor, or whatever it might be. Even though sometimes on a guitar, we're playing more than one string. Sorry about that. We're playing more notes than it seems like there are 3 notes. For instance, if I play a C chord, I'm strumming 5 strings, but there's really only 3 notes happening. Okay, if I play a G chord, I'm playing 6 strings, but there's still only 3 notes happening. Let's look at that. So if I take a C chord, for instance, I'm playing the notes C, E, and G, and then C, E. So I'm playing C, E, and G, I'm just playing multiple octaves of those notes. So even though the perception when we play some chords on the guitar is that we're playing all of these notes, we're really not. Now again, there are chords that use a lot of different notes, but when we first start playing just simple major and minor chords, even though we're playing more than 3 strings, we're just playing 3 notes, and a lot of those notes are being repeated in what we call octaves. Okay? So again, if I play a G chord, In this G right here that I'm playing, this 4-finger G, I'm playing G, B, D, G, D, G. So again, it's just G, B, and D. So what we have to understand is that chords start off as what we call triads, which means there's 3 notes, okay? And the triad is based off the root, the third, and the fifth. Well, from yesterday's conversation, we learned root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, root, right? So root, third, fifth. So right there, I'm playing the notes G, B, and D. When I play this, I'm also playing G, B, and D. You can hear it right there. Okay? But now I'm playing them separate. So I could play G, B, and D like this. I could play G, B, and D like this. I could play G, B, and D like this. Okay? So what I like to show people is when you first start learning about triads, you can play triads really 3 different ways. One way is to the left, one way is over the top, and one way is to the right. Okay? So again, if we go back to Monday's conversation, if you know where your note is on, in this case on the 6th string, if you know where the root is, you can build to the left, you can build over the top, or you can build to the right. Yesterday's conversation talking about intervals briefly, that's what we're talking about now, is the root, the third, and the fifth. And again, if any of this is confusing, don't sweat it. You can learn all of this stuff in Music Theory Masterclass if you want to. You can click on the link and learn all about this stuff. But let me keep going here with this. So if I'm building to the left, it's 3, 2, and 0. If I'm building over the top, I'm talking frets now. It's 3, 2, 5, and 2 and 5 are on the same string. If I'm building to the right, it's 3, 7, 5, and 3 and 7 are on the same string, excuse me. So if you look at it, I'm playing G, B, D. If I play over the top, G, B, D. If I play to the right, G, B, D. See that? If I go to the 5th string and find the note G, I can play to the right, over the top, to the left, excuse me, sorry, over the top, and to the right. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. If I find G on the 4th string, I can play to the left. Now, over the top, I've got root here, third there, fifth there. And to the right, I play right there. Okay? If I find G on the 3rd string, I'll come all the way up here. Okay? So I can play to the left. Now it's going to look a little bit different because of the tuning of the guitar here. Over the top. Okay? Or to the right. If I find a G on the 2nd string, I can't play to the left all the way because I only have 2 strings. So I'm missing a string over here. But I play over the top, and I could play to the right. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways that you can approach learning how to play arpeggios on the guitar. So what's really great about this idea is you take one note and you learn to play to the left, over the top, and to the right, and you start getting used to hearing those intervals, obviously. Now, you don't have to play in all these positions like I'm showing you. I just want to show you what it looks like on each string, okay? But that's what's happening. I'm playing in what's called a major arpeggio, because remember, the G major, if I'm playing in the key of G major, the first chord is G major, okay? So a major triad, or major chord, is built off the root, the major third, and the fifth. Root, major third, fifth, perfect fifth. That's what we're doing, okay? It gets a little more complicating, though, as you learn your theory, because there are minor arpeggios as well, okay? Well, what is a minor arpeggio? Well, It's a minor chord, right? A minor, E minor, right? B minor, D minor, whatever it might be. A minor arpeggio is defined by the root and what we call a minor third, and then the perfect fifth, which means what we're really doing is we're taking the major third and we're moving it back 1 fret, and it's creating this minor sound. So let me kind of show you what that looks like, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to this G right here just to show you this, okay? So G major, over, to the left, over the top, to the right. If I wanted this to be minor, what I would have to do is take that major third right there and flat that so it becomes that sound. That is a minor arpeggio. It's still the root, it's still the perfect fifth, but it's that minor third in between. And so it changes, right? So this note's got to be flatted. So when I do over the top, it's still flatted. And when I do to the right, I've flatted that note now. So I'm playing G, B flat, and D. So if I was playing a G major arpeggio, I'm playing G, B, and D, which fits in the key of G. If I play a G minor arpeggio, I'm playing G, B flat, D. Notice I'm not calling it A sharp. Remember our discussion from Monday, if you remember that. So I'm not calling it A sharp, I'm calling it G, B flat, because I had to flat that major third and make it into what's called a minor third. So G, B flat, and D. Okay? Now, G minor doesn't fit in the key of G major. So understand that when we're talking about arpeggios, we're not necessarily talking about things in a key, we're just talking about chords, right? So if you wanted to play a D minor arpeggio, regardless of the key, regardless of whatever, if you wanted to play a D minor arpeggio, the first thing you need to do is find the note D on the guitar, which is why learning your notes on your guitar is so important, right? So let's find a D. Well, we have a D right here. So if I want to play a minor arpeggio, I need to play the root, the minor third, and the fifth. Root, minor third, fifth. Root, minor third, fifth. And as long as I know where my notes are on the guitar, I can find that anywhere I want to go. So if I come up here to D, I can find them right there. Okay? Or if you wanted A minor. Okay, well, let's find A minor. Again, I'm not trying to talk above you with any of this stuff. I'm just trying to kind of show you how this works. So I could go to A here. I'd have my root, my minor third, and my fifth, or root, minor third, fifth, or root, minor third, fifth. If I want to play A on this string, I'd have root, minor third, fifth, root, minor third, fifth, root, minor third, fifth. Okay? So learning how to play major and minor arpeggios really doesn't have to be that difficult. It's just learning where's the note that you want on the sixth string, or the fifth string, or the fourth string, and whatever, and then building on that, okay? Now, arpeggios get much deeper than that. There's lots of different things we can do with arpeggios. Like you might have seen people play arpeggios before. Let's go back, let's scratch this, go back to just G major, okay? So we're back on plain old G major. And you might have seen people play arpeggios when they do something like this. Where they're playing a bunch of different strings like that. Well, what's really happening, if we look at that and break it down, we're playing root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth, root, third. So I'm playing G, B, D, G, B, D, G, B, and then I run the strings, unless I go up to D up here. Okay? So there's lots of different ways that you can learn to play arpeggios on the guitar. Okay? Here's another G major. If I went right here to this G with my pinky on the 10th fret of the 5th string, I could play G, B, D, G, B, D. And if we break that down, what are we doing? We're playing to the left and then playing over the top. Right? If we look at the first one, I played to the right and then right here. Okay? So this one right here, we've got to the left, right? And then we only have a couple notes here, but that would have been to the right, but we don't have another note down here because we don't have enough strings. But So you can stack those ideas to the left over the top and to the right. You can stack those and make them larger. So it's not just 3 strings or 2 strings or whatever it is you might be doing. You can build it all the way out if you want to. So there's lots of really cool things that you can do like that. And again, we'll talk about all this stuff in the course. So if that makes sense, what I'd like you to do is start just exploring this. Don't try all kinds of different chords and stuff if you're not comfortable with this. Start real basic. Just take a G major and just try and find G, B, and D. And use your ear as well to help guide you. Because at this point you might not know all the notes and all that kind of stuff. Again, these are all, topics that I'm giving you this week, but they're going to need to be built out over time. But you can certainly use your ear and think about, and even if you just built that right there and just sat and did that over and over and over, okay, so we're building off of the G on the 6th string. And then we decided, okay, let's try that same thing, but D on the 6th string. Well, the visual is going to look exactly the same. Right? So we can get used to that. And again, that's at least a starting point. Maybe don't worry about the 5th string and the 4th string and everything like that for now. Just start with something very basic and build off of that. Okay? So you've got all kinds of information at this point. You're able to take a G major scale and play it. You're able to build the chords of it. And now you're able to make arpeggios out of that as well. Whether it's in the key of G or anything that you want, you're able to start building out those arpeggios. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. And again, there's a whole lot more in the guitar course, okay? So do me a favor. If you get a chance, click on the link in the chat, whether it's in the chat or in the description or whatever. Check out Music Theory Masterclass, see if it's something that you're interested in. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me and learn some music theory. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be talking about modes, the basics of modes, But again, I'm going to give you something practical to practice with those things. And then on Friday, we're actually going to start combining a bunch of this stuff together for effective solos, okay? And again, I'm going to keep it nice and easy. I'm not going to get real deep, just keep things nice and basic, but at least it gets you going, okay? So once again, thank you for taking time out to hang out with me today. I hope you learned something. Remember, join me tomorrow and Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific. I'm on Central Time, so I always forget what the Pacific time is, but it is 4 p.m. Pacific, yeah. And then we'll keep going with this conversation, all right? Share it with your friends, whoever. If there's anybody that could need the help in this kind of stuff, whether it's learning theory or modes or whatever it might be. And I'll see you again tomorrow, all right? So take care, and I'll talk to you soon.